Intelligent use of AI and protection for artists. Can you protect yourself from this, and how? Artificial intelligence can be an effective tool to analyze, predict, and diagnose, enabling humans to make better decisions, and very much quicker decisions too. For sure, though, it can color the results to fit a premise. And, theoretically, AI is slave to its master, which is whoever's controlling the AI. But, you've seen the Terminator and all this stuff. And, is it going to take over at some point? And there are indications that it for sure is, just because of the murderous things these robots say, when left to their own devices. Now, my question is, was that planted just to make some sensationalistic kind of, attention-getting ploy? I don't know. So, but what is the truth? It's hard to discern, but, we do know that there's ways to be smart about it. And so we're going to talk about some of that. I'll also talk about some of the ethical issues and ask the question, how are artists and administrators using AI on projects? Now, that was the new discussion frame, and that was kind of how it changed after Kevyn became involved, because he has a different spin on, this, and I think it's worth looking at both sides. Now, the old framing of the discussion was this: art is derivative, coming from the creator or copying others, but when it's birthed, it is then the property of the artist, and then the battle begins. Because why? Because art is valuable. Now, artificial intelligence makes all recorded human art accessible at a voice command, or possibly even a thought. The AI can then mutate the art to make it different enough to seem original. So what does this mean for content creators who do it the old-fashioned way? They think it up. They don't plug it into, some robot. Now, who are the players, and how is the battle being fought now? Okay, so those are some of the ideas that you guys can percolate, and, feel free to pile your questions into that chat, and we'll pick them off. Our guest is Kevyn Bashore, and he's a filmmaker. He's a story coach and what's called an artographer, and I'll let him explain that a little bit, but essentially it's an artist's, like a fine artist who mixes that fine art with photography. And Kevyn's also been an actor, a writer, an artist, photographer for the Getty Studios, Getty Images, a songwriter, and he's been in theater. And please help me welcome Mr. Kevyn Bashore.
In Hollywood, I went behind the scenes undercover as a background actor to be on over 200 movies while I was writing. And now I realize why God had me do that, because I was actually observing all of this heinous and horrific actions by the studios that nobody was stopping or saying anything about. And so that was back in 2015, 16, 17, 18. I already had seen the abuse that was happening, being asked to go inside, the rooms and trailers and have your body scans, and for, the actors, and for a payment of a day's wages. And I saw that was injustice, and I was appalled that the unions were not speaking up or stopping it. And if you said anything, you would be fired, or you wouldn't be called back, you wouldn't be hired. So I was shocked at how many artists actually were just walking off the cliff and with a smile on their face, not even thinking about what the ramifications of these things were.
Jobs that can possibly be, let's say, pilfered, I guess, is what I'd call it, by somebody behind the curtain, somebody behind the AI curtain. Those jobs are 9 areas. There's acting, voice acting, modeling, social media influencing, which, that's bots. They find something they like and they praise it and they lift it up. They find something, speech they don't like, and hundreds of thousands of bots will go and just attack. The other areas besides acting, voice acting, modeling, social media influencing, writing, stunt work, visual effects, animation, visual art, music, acting. Now these performers are always all wondering if they're going to be one day replaced by AI. Now if you're a betting person, you might think that, oh, well, they're going to rent Tom Cruise's image for the next 100 years, and you might be right. Who knows? But there's a lot of people on a lot of sides of this whole thing because, here's how I've used AI, okay? I'm writing a press release and I'm, making it as good as I can. And it's sweat and it's labor and it's hard, but I go and I plug it into AI and it comes out with some flowery language that I'm like, that's really good, or that's really hokey and cheesy, but it is a tool that is very helpful. There's a thing called right to promotion that, is not sacrosanct because, this is the thing. You get different opinions depending where you go in the country, which courts you go to. And so settled law it's a non sequitur when it comes to copyright law. Nothing is settled and everybody is arguing about it, or a lot of people are, and follow the money. That's what, the idiom that you can count on is follow the money. The most money in our society typically is going to win the court battle. So what I've learned is, the right to publicity, it lasts about, I believe, 75 years or something like that, basically a lifetime. However, there are cases in certain states where it doesn't hold up and you don't have that, like if you have a spoof, you have a right to parody and you can spoof something all day long. And that's why you get all these copies of films, and they'll take a name that's like Shark Tomato instead of Sharknado, and they'll make money with that, and they'll make the cover very similar, and people buy it before they even know that it's a fake, and so that is something that's been pretty well. It has held up pretty well. But on the right to publicity, you have an estate and Tesla and Nikola Tesla's generations or his grandchildren's children. And do they have a right to publicity? Well, he's a public figure and he's been dead for, since the 40s. And it's been a long time, but, there are arguments and there are precedents where you can be on both sides of the law.